Welcome to another episode of Divine Design, Parenting for Greatness. Thanks for joining us. In today's episode, we've got a slightly different flavor. We've got a dad and daughter combo. So I'm going to have to run the show today, which is my privilege to welcome Petrus, co-host, but also guest today. And then, shall we say, when you're in trouble, is it Gabriella when you're in trouble?
Yeah, that's what my mother says.
That's it. And what are the other versions? We've got Gabby.
Koekemoer.
Yep, Koekemoer.
Yeah.
And what other versions do we have? Gabs. There we go.
Gabs.
There we go.
Oh, juffrouwtjie.
That's not me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're happy to have Beatrice and Gabby join us today. Today's episode is going to take a slightly different route. It's all about parenting, yes, but to get the dynamic father and son, parent and child combo, as I said. But more specifically, we really want to get the thoughts, the mindset of somebody who is a bit younger, maybe less years of experience in her life compared to some of our other guests. And that's really important. I think if you are a younger person watching the podcasts, this is definitely the one for you. If you are a parent and you might have a child in a similar situation, similar space in their life where Gabby would be right now, we really feel that could be a valuable experience in today. So for you. So I really think it's going to be a good one. I've got my questions all set. The most important one, which I just asked off air, but Gabby's in an interesting position today. She's this side of the camera. Gabby's normally on the other side of the camera, running the show, telling us off, telling us how we should be doing it, so looking after production. But now she's on this side. So Gabby will be looking at your hands and seeing that you're not disturbing the microphones. Great, but you're very welcome. It's actually an honor and a privilege to get the insights, if we can say this in a slightly serious tone, from a younger person, but from my family's known yours for a few years now, and maybe we'll get into that because we sort of returned from abroad back to South Africa, although from different parts of the world, and then met together at our local fellowship. And it was interesting hearing Petrus and his clan's message, and it resonated with me and our journey as well. But from the beginning, I picked up, and my first words were, and this is a nice big fat tick behind your parents, for them at least, behind their names. And that is when we left the fellowship after we'd met you for the first time, I said to my wife, Fatani Magda, I said to her, that girl's got her head screwed on properly.
Thank you.
And that doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. So I think there's lots of wisdom on those young shoulders of yours, partly due to your parents, but I think it's also down to who you are and what you stand for, what you believe in, and I think where you get your inspiration for life from. So we really want to unpack all of those things. So, Gabby, Gabster, Gabs, Koekemoer.
I'm liking it.
Give us an indication quickly and a very short pitch. Who is Gabby? And tell the listeners a bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm Gabriella Koekemoer. I'm the daughter of Petrus and Kristal Koekemoer. And I'm 16 years old. And I'm a homeschooler. And I always had the dream since a young age that I wanted to become a professional tennis player. But due to injuries, things have changed and I discovered music. But yeah, I'm excited for this episode and thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. Dad, here's your gap. It might be the only one you get.
Wow. About myself. Well, I'm Petrus, for those who haven't met me. Sorry for being put on the spot over here like this. But I'm the parent of this lovely lady. I'm also a parent to a son, Alexander. He's 14, right? Your brother's 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And my lovely wife, Kristal. And we're based now in George. We've been here for the last 3 and a bit years. I think a little bit more than 3 years. And but it's going to be about Gabby, right? I just want to make sure. Okay, because it's got nothing to do with me. So yeah, that's about me.
Gabby, my first question, I asked it off air, I'm going to ask it again. The listeners would really like to know is, are you a daddy's girl?
Ooh, I I think I'm a bit of both worlds. When I played tennis, my dad and I traveled alone lots of the times. So I think we bonded a lot when mom was not, and we had our own little secrets. Sorry, mama. But when it comes to sports clothing and all that stuff, my dad would pick the best attire for me when it comes to the tennis court. And my mom would always yell at him and say, why are you buying so much expensive stuff? And then my dad would just keep buying and buying. But yeah, I think I'm a bit of both worlds. Yeah.
Both worlds.
Charles, I just want to say, listen, when we traveled together on our own, she was 6 years old. The only reason why it looks like expensive clothing was there was these outlet stores, right? You remember?
Second-hand stores.
Don't say that, but it's like more outlet stores, and there were so many specials on those stores. So just to make it sure, it's like my bank account. Just make sure everyone knows.
Like any good parent, you made the most of your opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. Right, so Gabby, yeah, we've mentioned tennis, music. Dad's obviously involved in tennis coaching.
Yes.
And coaching more broadly. So I think that's probably a natural point for us to start the journey. You traveled with Dad, would have seen him doing what he does, etc. Has tennis always been an interest of yours from a young age? If Dad wasn't a tennis coach, for example, do you think that still would have been the case or not?
Ooh, I don't know. Could be maybe. But I started playing tennis, I think, when I was the age of 2 years old. Well, my parents met on a tennis court, so I think it was a little bit of a meant-to-be situation. But yeah, since the age of 2 and 2 to 6, I just knew that is what I wanted to be great at. And I knew I was surrounded with tennis players and tennis coaches all the day and all the time. So I knew I just wanted to become a professional tennis player at that point.
All right. Dad, what did you have to think about that goal?
I'll take Gabby a little bit deeper. Black Toyota Corolla, Groblersdal, Benvillion High School, driving to the courts. I used to always see Gabby wanted to be at the courts. It's really hot in the summer in Groblersdal. It's not a place where you just spend, a typical day outdoors. And I mean, with her mom coming to the courts to either picking me up or coming a little bit early, Gabby was out of the car. You could just see that excitement to get to the tennis court. And yeah, she really loved it. When she was 2, our biggest claim to fame is she could hit the ball over the roof of our house, with a little red ball. So that's where it actually started at her grandma's home.
Yeah.
Yeah, bigger the better.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on you and Christelle meeting on the tennis court. I'm not sure. Was a lot of backhands or?
Yeah, let's just say rather about a ready position, your foundation. Yeah,
there we go.
That'd be good.
There we go. She saw your ability as a coach. We'll leave it at that. So I think in terms of Gabby, that the early days going from being interested in it and seeing Dad doing it and all the excitement to actually stepping onto the court and playing. Give us a feel and a vibe, a bit of background to how that played out for you as a very young child.
Well, all that I wanted to do was be on a tennis court. My parents had to drag me off of the tennis court almost every day. But I was born in Pretoria, and then we moved to Ermelo, and my dad was the coach for Ermelo High School, the high school team. And from that moment, I was surrounded with tennis players, and we also traveled to the US. I had the privilege to travel to the US, and I just remembered being around tennis players all the time and being competitive with everyone. Really, really competitive. But I think it all started to become really serious when we moved to Nelspruit and when I matured and got older. And I knew that is what I wanted to do. And I was just around tennis players the whole time. So,
all right. And in terms of self-belief and confidence, Is that something that was just there naturally? Did you ever doubt yourself, or was it a case of throw at me what you can, and I'll swim?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of confidence, and that comes from the tennis. And I was the only girl in a homeschooling team of boys, full of boys. So I was the only girl. So they knew that they're not gonna mess with this girl. So I think being around them just gave me extra confidence. But also, I know who I was in Christ, and that also gave me lots of confidence, knowing who I am, and yeah.
Okay, we'll definitely touch on that one a little bit further on.
Charles, with confidence, I can just tell you, sorry, I've got a lot of stories to tell with when it comes to Gabby. Gabby used to think that she was the world's best singer, okay? And she used to think that her spit was the reason for her being such an amazing vocalist.
Magical.
I mean, it was amazing. So, yeah, just when it comes down to confidence, Gabby from a young age was a confident young kid.
Okay.
She believed in herself and backed herself, and there's I think we'll touch more about tennis little comebacks and stuff like that, but never gave up and stuff like that as a young kid even.
You mentioned homeschooling.
Yes.
So I want to say that that's not the norm, but I think nowadays it is much more the norm than it used to be. Maybe a few decades ago. It also depends where you are in the world and what sort of schooling system is available to you. I think there are some schooling systems that you want to avoid at all costs, and then there are some that are actually quite good. But perhaps you want to answer this jointly. How did the decision in terms of homeschooling come about? So I'm sure we will have listeners out there who also perhaps are either in that route, on that track, or others who might even be considering it, for example. So how did homeschooling come about?
Well, I was till grade 5. I was in Laerskool in Nelspruit, and I played for their tennis team. But that's when tennis became serious for me, and that's when I knew that this is what I want to do, and to have more time on the tennis court. And I still balance schoolwork, but I wanted to take tennis more seriously, and homeschooling was an option for spending more time on the court. And the starting, I think 2019 was the year that I started with homeschooling, and
All right. And then the following year, a lot of people started with homeschooling.
Yes.
At the beginning of the year when we decided to take our kids out of school, or mainstream schooling, we were the weirdos, and 6 months later, we were the heroes. And then all of a sudden, everyone was, how do we do it? Mm-hmm. But just to maybe track back, with Gabby being 6 years old and really wanting to be on the court a lot, because it was always her decision. It was never our decision for her to, but based out of circumstances, her surroundings, her environment obviously directed her. But when we took a group to America, that's when, we were on court for 12 hours, and it's not all physical. It was technical as well. So it's not like the kids being punished. But I remember, okay, Gabby, this is now enough. Nope, I still want to go. And, so it's really the way she speaks brings a lot of memories back of, it was really her that wanted it to do it.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Yeah, we were always, there was always a decision. Did you want to do it or did you not want to do it? But she saw the other people do it. We had this homeschooling group come together. Yes. A lot of boys. I'm sure some of them, I'm not sure if we'll drop some names tonight, but it was a tough group. We had a really tough environment, and Gabby wanted to be part of that. She didn't want to miss out. So
I think in terms of motivation, you either generally, as we as people, either gravitate towards a goal, or towards something's our motivation, or we pull away from it.
Yeah.
So in this case, for you, it sounds like you were motivated towards something.
Yes, and my parents never pushed me in anything that I didn't want to do. They always made sure, do you want to do this? And if I said yes, they would try and make it happen. And they would never force me to play tennis. Everything came from within. And it was all self-driven. And people think that maybe because my dad is a tennis coach, he forced me into playing tennis. But it was not the case at all.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the nature versus nurture debate, but your environment and what you're exposed to. Exposure. You're either your worldview and how you see life is shaped by that worldview, your circumstances and your exposure to what. If you're going to grow up in a bubble and it's very limited, you don't know what you don't know. So I think for parents listening, I think on a spiritual level, just a broader level altogether, is we need to stop and regularly evaluate. As families, as parents, we go through seasons. And sometimes those seasons bring out really good things, sometimes not so great, sometimes they're very challenging, and they test your resolve, they test the seams, and they feel like those seams want to rip apart sometimes, and other times it just feels this is great, and this could last forever. But as you go through those, we as parents need to actually just rise above it, zoom out, and look into our situation and actually say to ourselves, is this current season, what does it mean? What is it good for? What is it teaching us? But I think also, what is it exposing us to? What am I exposing my children to? I think a lot of parents get sucked into the trap, and we all do. Not speaking from on high here. You get sucked into a routine, and then before you know it, it's a few months, years down the line, and you suddenly wake up and think, well, where's time gone? And I didn't really do much with that, or my children went down a route that I didn't really want them to go down. So, yeah, stopping and pausing is probably the thing I want to mention there. Petrus, as a family, as a husband and wife combo, how did you manage those early years and the interest and I don't want to use the word push, the motivation that Gabby showed to want to take this further? What were the considerations the questions you were asking yourself, perhaps, the tough questions that you needed to ask yourselves? Was it just you? Did you rely on others for insights as well? How did it work?
I think, I haven't shared this a lot. I think one of my toughest decisions I had to make was pursuing America. Gabby's tennis, we always want to grow, the bigger, we want to do financially well, we want to do certain levels, we want to achieve certain things. So I think America, in the back of my mind as a little kid mentality, was like, okay, let's go there because everyone goes there, it's the place to be. And actually looking back, a tough decision was Nelspruit, leaving Nelspruit behind because we had something very special happening there. And
was that a season for you?
That was the season what you're talking about, because I don't think we would be here today, Gabby, if the dear Lord didn't get us out of Nelspruit, because I think Nelspruit was our safety bubble as well, and that little season that we were like, if this could last forever, we'll be pretty much okay. But the dear Lord, in His infinite ways, doesn't work like that. It's like, okay, it's like, okay, you guys are going to go to America, you guys are going to be there for 8 months, you're just going to come back. That was not in my wildest dreams something that I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, we did this move to America, and now 8 months later, I've got to make this decision of, was it the right choice, one? And two, now, how can I say it in English? But start this in Ibiana. Now it's like, okay, you've got to swallow your pride and say, we're coming back.
I've got a phrase, if it helps, because I can, from personal experience, leaving a career after 17 years and saying goodbye to, again, I wouldn't say bum in the butter scenario, but it was kind of there.
Okay.
Things were planned out ahead, and there was safety. There was a safety net, and making that decision to step away from that. And you and I are going to do an interview in the future, but you just don't know it yet. And we're going to discuss some of these things. But stepping away from that for a particular reason, you would have had your own, mine as well. When I retell the story of, okay, I try to go make it on my own as a consultant working in education, and the phrase I often use is, I failed superbly. And that's really it's the best way that I can say, yes, acknowledge it did not work the way I wanted it to. There was a price to pay, but it was superb in the sense that the learning opportunity that was there and what has come after it, when doors close, when doors open, that sort of conversation. So failed superbly is. Yeah.
I think that's well said. Head held high, I can say I failed. But looking back, it wasn't actually just for that short term. It was failure, because now, the person I changed into be, and I'm sure Gabby would be almost the first person to say, it's like just I changed. It was like, I think they barely recognized me as a father or as a husband for my wife. And yeah, it was tough, and I think that also had an influence on our entire dynamic. It's got nothing to do with me, because now all of a sudden, what now? What now? You pack up everything, you leave with South African rands, you come back with US dollars in debt, how do you do that? And so resetting, it's got like, okay, and it's not a reset for me, it's a reset for the family, for everyone, because part of it was for Gabby's tennis, and we felt we're going to do this, and we are today.
I think as parents, as adults, we can talk ourselves through those experiences and have a bit of perspective, because we're adults, we've got lived experience. But quite often you think, how are the kids dealing with this, because they've only lived short lives, maybe not the maturity yet to see the situation for what it is. They only look at it at face value and see, well, this has just happened. So Gabby, let's get your take on it. How was America in terms of the visit and the time you had spent there? Just take us through that first.
Well, for me, it was quite interesting. The people is a lot different than the people here in South Africa, and I obviously missed my biltong a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I gained so much experience, not just in my tennis, but with life lessons as well in the US. I had the privilege to travel alone when I was 12. Great Base Tennis coach Steve Smith is a big mentor of ours, and I had the privilege to go and spend time and train at their facility in, I think, Delray Beach.
Boynton Beach.
In Boynton Beach,
Florida. Yeah.
And I was 12. I had to fly alone in a different country that I'm not really familiar with, and I lived alone. I had to do my own laundry. I was the youngest of all the people, all the kids training there. So
I can hear moms and dads watching now.
Yeah.
So you see.
Yeah, I
Would
was
you do it
on.
again?
Oh no, of course I would, but. Just being in a different environment and out of my comfort zone, I think I benefited from it a lot. And in the way that I live today, being independent in lots of things you do, not having to have mom or dad with me, but having confidence in and belief in myself. I had to do laundry on my own, cook for a house of 20 kids. I'm ashamed. I don't think they haven't had so much spaghetti and meatballs in their life, but
They do.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that helped a lot. And looking back, it's a big privilege to have that experience at a young age.
Thanks for sharing. It sounds, in that sense, that it was worthwhile for however long it might have been. If I may, and this is totally up to you. We always say we don't want to shy away from the tricky questions and the tricky moments, because that's where we feel we've learned the most, and the audience can too. So you said, obviously, you miss certain things when you're away from your comfort zone, or what familiarity. This country, for example, here in South Africa, you go abroad, it obviously gives you a bit of perspective. Yes. Some things work differently. Some might say they just work, full stop. But you get perspective on, actually, there are things that I wasn't as grateful for, perhaps back home, that I should have been. And so you learn to value different things.
Yeah.
What did the trip to America give you in terms of learning to value something that you didn't value before you got on the plane and left?
I always had lots of respect for my mom, but after I had to, juggle playing hours and hours of tennis a day, and also doing the duties that my mom does at the same time, I think just gave me a wider perspective of what it actually is to be a parent. And for children out there, kids my age, really be grateful for your parents and for your mom and for your dad, because there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that we're not with that. And
unless you're put into that situation, you would still be here today not knowing or not valuing it. So facing a bit of adversity is sometimes the best, but we struggle to let them go sometimes and do these things. So okay. this is the point where you just quickly say, "Dankie, mama."
Ja, dankie mamma.
All right, no, fantastic. Coach, anything you want to add at this point?
No, it's almost a little bit emotional to hear, because this is the first time we're really, having this kind of conversation, and just the support structure. When you do certain things, make sure you've got a good support structure. And Christelle was more, just listening to Gabby right now, way more influential and there for me and for the family than I might have even realized until you just said it in that way. So that was well said.
Is it connect though, the helpers that we've been given as a blessing in our lives as fathers, as husbands, even as sons, if we think of our moms as well. So yes, that's definitely a huge privilege, and thank you to all the moms out there for everything they do. We never ever say thank you enough.
That's true.
So coming back to South Africa after that trip.
Yes.
Actually, no, if we do have any the American audience, or if anybody from here is thinking about going abroad, even if it's to the States for pursuing the dream on a sports side of things, or whether it's some other profession perhaps, what advice, what tips would you give them, or what message would you share?
For people from
who
South
are considering
Africans
to go abroad, to follow their dream in a way.
That's a good question.
Especially if you could relay that to us from a child's perspective, not an adult, from a child. What would you say to the children? What's good for the parents to hear tuning in today from a child's perspective?
Well, I think first to be grateful that you have the opportunity to go to another country, and it's quite an adventure. It's really quite an adventure.
Maybe while you put that, give that some thought, as maybe here's another question, just asking myself, would I do it again? And the answer is simply yes, I would. My advice is go for it. Don't let the fear of striking out hold you back. That's a motto of ours, and I would say do it again and go for it. But just make sure you know why you want to do it. Because chasing money, chasing fame is not always, should not be the reason to pursue those kind of things. And here's just one tip. Don't go seek pro tennis. Pro tennis will find you. If you're good enough in South Africa, it will happen. And hopefully that helps out. Hopefully that answers your question from my side. But yeah, Gabs, anything from your side when it comes down to advice for kids and parents, or for the parents through the kids' eyes?
What should they pack in their bags?
I think.
What's the one item they should take with them?
Well, I think first, don't be afraid to learn new things. I think our South Africans are very, I know everything and you can't tell me anything else.
That was my case, Charles.
But yeah, be open-minded, be humble, be kind, be open for new experiences and learning different things being done in a different way and not the way you think things should be done.
Wow.
Yeah, you mentioned about pro tennis finding you. I must have been very well camouflaged. My
Charles,
role,
don't give up on your dreams. Come on.
My role in school tennis was effectively just to try and beat the school number one, which
was your brother.
I never could do. No. I could never do. I tell you what, got some spicy tennis matches. I have a twin brother, and we had some spicy tennis matches over the years. And it was interesting. We were playing on the other side of George in the mountain in Oudtshoorn. For those who don't know the area, vastly different climates. So Oudtshoorn in the summer, very dry heat, sort of semi-desert. And we were there for the whole day. And the school has sent us to just make up the numbers for trials for the provincial, the state team, whatever it might be. And our brother and I were definitely sort of not in the top tier on that day. We're sort of towards the bottom tier. And losing match after match. The last game of the day, we draw each other, and it was like somebody just the Duracell bunny kicked in, and all of a sudden, never mind the blisters, at the end of the day, it was on, and this was like backyard
Sibling
Wimbledon
rivalry.
from scratch again. And I've never seen it so feisty. Debating whether that ball was in or out at 40 plus degrees Celsius on the day. Yeah, we didn't.
I would love
stop.
to be a fly on
We
that
didn't
wall.
stop. All right. So bring it back to returning to South Africa. What have been the challenges and the highs and the lows, perhaps from your perspective? How have you experienced it?
I think people will think it's quite funny, but I was actually very happy when my parents told Alexander and I that we are coming back to South Africa. I remember when we told Alexander, he was like, "Yeah, I just knew it." But yeah, he was glad we're coming back, and me as well. I was also very glad. And yes, with the COVID tests and things we had to do, we had lots of challenges. My mom tested positive when she was actually tested negative. So they had to make a lot of sacrifices and walking to stores to make sure that she's negative, because we had to fly in 48 hours. But it was a big adventure and a big journey. It was some highs and lows. But in all, I think it was more positive than negative coming back.
Okay. And then adjusting once back here again, was it a natural just slot in again? Because obviously before you went to the States, is that when you were still based in Nelspruit?
Nelspruit, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So then after that, your base is no more there. It's on the other side of the country. Nelspruit's in sort of in the northeastern side of the country, and George is down on the south coast. So yeah, different parts of the world. So how did that adjustment look for you?
It was not too bad. Like I said, we were glad we're coming back, and we stayed at our grandmother in Groblersdal, and we were actually quite excited to see, because we were begging our dad, can we please go back to Nelspruit, because everything was just perfect there. But I think when the reality came to us that no, we're not going back to Nelspruit, it's a brand new chapter in our book, we were actually quite excited for that. So not a lot of adjustments, more being excited to see what is to come.
Here's an interesting one. Feel free to jump in answering this one. A new chapter. So if on the flight back from the States, or maybe perhaps arriving back, if you turn the proverbial page and you had to write the heading then for what the new chapter would be, what would you have written?
What would you say?
What comes to mind?
I would.
There's a sense of, when you turn the page to a new chapter, it's like, ooh, what's this going to be about? How's the plot going to change, and the character development in the story that you're reading? But quite often the heading gives us a flavor. So what would the heading be that gave the flavor for what lay ahead, would you say?
New beginnings, I think.
Cool runnings, huh? You
Yeah,
like your cool runnings, huh?
Cool runnings.
Yeah, Charles, I'm going to be honest with you. For me, it was almost like I'm not sure what's in store now, and
who knows?
And that's maybe a good point for some parents also. It's not always, you don't have to always know what's the next step, but I think if there's one word, I think peace. There's got to be some sort of shalom, some sort of peace where you come at ease with yourself and your surroundings and your situations, and know that something's going to come good out of the things. Because I think looking back, what would be a regret? It's not that I want to go back there, but it's like how many broken relationships in the whole journey was compiled, with our former students in Nelspruit. Although we had conversations and let everyone know, and we had a great farewell, but then we go to the States, things didn't work out quite as well, and I barely got contact with people, and that's one thing. If I could turn back time, it's like, can we still have a communication? Can we still communicate? Can we still pick up the phone and just call each other, how you doing? Even if I'm not in your life or you're not in my life directly, is that a lot of relationships go broken by decisions So yeah, hopefully that answers it. Sorry for giving you the long version, but I think coming back, the word was peace. It's like, okay, let's just, come back, let's reset. Obviously resources and stuff plays a big role in how long you can, so coming back, we had to, I had to try and
hit the ground running.
Yeah, I had to try and get a place to coach again because Nelspruit was not an option.
Okay. So if parents listening who are perhaps have been on a similar journey or about to embark or thinking about it, you said peace. We like to use that little Hebrew word shalom, that wholeness, without any defect. A tough question maybe, but why did it need to unfold that way first to get to that peace? Why wasn't that peace there 3 years ago? So in other words, what happened on the journey really that got you there in the first place? So we want to scratch a little bit deeper here.
Oof, yeah, that's a deep one, but I can tell you with honesty, some pride, the own me. I want to provide for my family. I want to do good. I want to be the best. And through that, even you lose actually sight. You lose focus of what's really important.
A bit of a Noah, Jonah, all these characters we know of where this wasn't just a little day trip out somewhere. This was how far you willing to let me take you. We're obviously talking from a faith perspective.
Yeah.
So it quite often it's a tough one because anybody who's out there thinking about we shouldn't do this. I think what we're saying is go for it, do it, but be open to the learnings that you get from that, and be open to new seasons that the Father can actually show you that you didn't know. And I think that quite often we see the negative, we see the challenges, but we don't realize that comes with fruit of its own. And as you just said, that peace. You and I can relate in that sense. I almost feel like I need to give you a high five.
Yeah.
But you and I can relate where it's a point where I can't be the hero 24/7.
Exactly.
And reaching a point where you end up doing something or making a decision that you thought, I would never make that decision. Where I've got no defense left. I've got no argument left in me about why not to do it. Okay, let's just do it. I've given it not over to the wind and to be flopped around in the wind, but it's a case of I've got no defense left. And we needed to reach that point. I think a lot of parents out there, individuals, moms, dads, even children, everybody has probably that moment in their life where they realize that's a pivotal moment or season. You could probably put it down to a day, a single event, or saying there's a few months of my life where I've hit that point where I need to really reassess. But this can actually lead to something I just don't know what it is yet. Okay. So yeah, right. Peace is the heading of that new chapter.
But I also think the reason we went to the US was also everything I think was part of God's plan for us. It's funny, God's timing is never too early, but it's also never too late. It's always perfect, and we may not always understand why certain things are happening at a certain time and why it's happening, but trusting God to know that there's good things in store for you.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
So that journey, the challenge, the fruit that was harvested out of it. How do you think that fruit that's come out of it will set you up for the season you're in now? And where you're going to move towards? You said you're 16. I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to ask a lady her age. You're 16 now, so it's natural to start thinking about what's going to happen when I'm finished with my secondary education, moving forward into adulthood, etc. What you learned through this whole process, going to the States, and Dad can maybe chip in about from a family perspective. But how do you think that's setting you up for moving ahead? How would 16-year-old Gabby, how does she look at it now ahead with what you know now in your life experience that you've had versus the Gabby who was, left mainstream, went into homeschooling to make the time to become a professional tennis player. That's in the past now. But how do you, as a 16-year-old, look at it differently, and what drives you to think that way based on your experiences you've had?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, when I think about it now, is I never really had a personal relationship with God until I really had my injury. But we'll get into that later. But I think a big part with my mom praying and my parents praying for us is, I think, played a big role with me being alone in the US, having to be independent, and also having self-belief and confidence in myself. Is when I came back and started playing tennis here in South Africa again, that is where I could incorporate the things that I learned in the US, being independent, not worrying about what others think about me being in South Africa from another country, being different than the normal US citizen, a typical teenage kid, that I was a little bit more different than everyone. And it makes me think about, we had 3 rules in our program in Nelspruit. It was do the opposite of what you want to do it the first time, and number 3, be different. And that being different was a big part when I was alone in the US, and being different around kids that's 5-6 years older than me. And yeah, I think being different was actually one of the big reasons why I could be independent and alone and do things that kids my age in South Africa don't normally do. So
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gabby said it well. You know, it's the lessons learned now with the journey ahead is to be at peace. Be at peace. But for Gabby, it's almost more a lesson of not getting your identity in your tennis.
Yeah.
If I can share it from my view going forward, let's say what the future holds. We've really grown.
I'm going to chip in there.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Her not finding her identity or making that change. Where does that come from?
In the previous, let's call it the previous, before we came over here, it's, if you're so much focused on winning, maybe competing, you could be thinking, if I don't win, I'm not as good as I think I am. And people are going to like me more if I win more and stuff like that. And, since we've been back and just answering for or helping Gabby is not worrying about the day of tomorrow, living for the now. I think that's one thing she could say more, but those lessons, why worry about tomorrow? Live for now. All we have is now.
I think our kids can actually quite often show us how to do that as parents. We get caught up in the bills, the budgets, the all these sorts of real life things. But actually, we should take a leave from our children, from their side, how to live for today. So don't not get too stuck in what we want to the whole time or feel we need to. So thank you to all the kids for all their energy. So.
It's not because it's Gabby and Gabby's sitting here, but I can tell you her maturity, her confidence levels, her inner belief system has actually pulled us through, and it's weird, but, she's been an inspiration for us, especially, coming back from the US, and I'm sure we'll touch up on it, but, going from full out tennis, no tennis, and what now, so
identity crisis.
But there was none. It was just incredible, Gabby. You're such a fighter, such a strong person, and I just look at you and I'm actually amazed with what the Heavenly Father has done with you, through you, the people you inspire, and so thanks for setting such a great example for young kids. Definitely. It's not because it's Gabby, but it's people who get in touch with Gabby will tell you there's just something a little bit different.
No, it does,
and it could be experiences, it could be just. The Lord's hand, which we trust in, but there's definitely something special on your life.
I think Gabby's testimony there is to to probably get to a point where you realize, well, am I just going through the motions in my faith life, or if there is no faith life to begin with, what am I believing and why? Is it something that's been handed down to me, that I inherited, or no, I have to make that decision myself?
And I think it's so easy to get caught up in a sport and just forget about everything else. And that's what happened to me. Is I always loved God, and I always had a special place for Him in my heart. And God tells us that whatever you do, you should do to glorify Him. And I switched it a little bit around as I forgot about Him, and I was just tennis. And I think it lets me think about what Zander Basson also said in our very first episode, is what is your why? Why are you playing tennis? Or why are you doing anything? And I think knowing what your identity is, no matter, it can be tennis, whatever, it doesn't matter which sport, but knowing your why and knowing where your identity lies in is much more important than being successful in a sport.
Yes, success is fleeting. One injury and you're gone.
No guarantees, huh?
No guarantees. So again, I think the message is about permanent, eternal things versus the stuff that this life has to offer. Gabby, tell us a bit more, I suppose, apart from Dad. I don't get jealous, Dad. But apart from Dad, with any other coaches or mentors who helped shape your journey?
Well, obviously my dad, alongside my dad, my mom, and Coach Steve, that is in the US, a big mentor of ours. He was the person that we went to when I was 6 in the US, where we were in Ermelo. My dad took a group of kids to the US to him. So he is a very, very, very big mentor and big coach of ours, that made a big impact in my life, but not just in my life, but mainly in my tennis as well.
I think the greatest coaches often have an influence on your chosen sport, but on your life as well, because the relationship is there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody just arrives to impart knowledge and walks off again. It's good, but it's limited. So, what are the typical training day? Apologies, tripping over my own tongue there. What did the typical training day look like at that point for you?
So I was still full out wanting to become a professional tennis player. So just to give you a background, when we were in Nelspruit and I started with my homeschooling, I would wake up in the morning and we would have a training session in the morning, I think from 7 to 9. And then we had a great bio at the school, and we would go to the gym I think for 45 minutes towards an hour, and then we stayed on the school campus, so we were blessed to have that, having the courts for us and the big rugby fields to go and train on. So we would gym for 45 to an hour, and then we'd all head back to our house. We had a little homeschooling group that lived with us, and we would all just work on our schoolwork. And then from 2 to 5, we would have another training session on the court. And then in between, we would have classroom, a little bit of classroom work as well, for the technical side of the sport, and for mental toughness and that sort of things. And then after that, we would have another 45 minutes to an hour of footwork after. And then, we would go home and stretch and rest and all that. And then it's just, again, the next day.
So plug and play and repeat.
Yeah.
Okay. Time off, if you weren't doing that, what did you get involved in?
I started with guitar lessons, so that was something that I wanted to do. There was this big music or drama centrum that if I can call that was being built next to our home, and there was people advertising guitar lessons and drum, if you want to learn the drums or the piano, whatever. And I had to choose between the guitar and the drums, and I thought, well, a guitar you can travel with, the drums you can only play if there's a drum set. So I just told my mom I wanted to start with guitar lessons, and I think once a week I went to practice guitar. And yeah, other than if I was not playing tennis, I was playing guitar, and I just fell in love with it. So
On the strings permanently.
literally.
On the strings, all right. Yeah, I was thinking which one gave you more satisfaction? But that's an unfair question. Okay, so bit of your training day. Then, in terms of coming back, and Dad mentioned about the injury. So let's go there quickly. You can share as much or as little as you want there. But the injury sounds to have been something that sort of knocked you a little bit. Now, there's the injury, which is the physical side, or can't get onto the court. That frustration probably is a natural frustration that the viewers can understand.
Yeah.
I wonder, could you give the viewers an insight into, so when you got the injury, you're 16 now, how old were you when you had the injury?
I'm 14.
Okay, so it's been about 2 years
Yeah.
in that sense since the injury occurred. But the injury effectively halted your game. Did you know at the time that this is something big, or did it become apparent later in time that this could be a problem and I might not be able to shake it off?
Yeah. So with any sport there comes injuries, and before this serious injury, I had previous injuries as well. And with our Nelspruit group, it was always, there's no excuses. If you broke your foot, you can come in your cast and you can sit on a chair and you can play tennis. So there was really no excuses. But 2 years ago, at Nationals, I played in the second round of Nationals, and I served, and I heard this sort of a pop sound, and at first it wasn't too bad, it didn't hurt so much, but it was not a normal thing, I thought. But I thought, maybe don't stress about it, sometimes something pops and get something as
Normally
you get
at our
loose.
age, yes, but yeah.
But I didn't make a fuss about it. It was here on my right rib here, just for people who's listening. But then I continued with the tournament. I played singles and I played doubles, and that's when I was touring with the Great Tennis Academy group to Bloemfontein. And then after that tournament, everything seemed okay, normal. I actually forgot about it. And then when we came back home to George, I played with the injury, but I think it wasn't so bad at that point. And then I think after a couple of months I got sick, and I just remember telling my mom every time when I'm inhaling or breathing in, is I feel like someone is pinching a needle into my right lung every time. And we went to the doctor, and the doctor said no, I had I don't know what it is in English, but in Afrikaans is longvliesontsteking.
All right.
And I was on antibiotics for 2 weeks. And strong antibiotics and pain medication, and the doctor we came back and nothing happened, and we went to the doctor and he said, well, maybe let's go for some x-rays and a sonar, especially for my lungs, because we didn't know it was an injury at that time. And the sonar didn't pick up anything, and the x-rays, everything looked normal. So we went to the doctor and he said, okay, well, maybe it's a muscle between my ribs that could have maybe just got irritated a little. And I remember we went to the bio that's at Great, and she said, okay, but let's go to another lady. I'm not sure what her name is, but she's a doctor. And she looked at it, and she didn't think much about it. And for a whole 2 years of the injury, nobody knew what was wrong. And it was really, really frustrating, because I thought I'm starting to get crazy, but my parents knew that I would never fake an injury. So I went to another doctor. It's called I'm not sure what the procedure is called, but I think it's called prolotherapy. It's when they inject you with a salt and sugar kind of mixture into an irritated area, and then it lets blood flow to that area and you heal faster. And I did that for a couple of months, and
Not to be tried at home.
yeah, yeah, really. And that didn't work. And then I just left the injury for a while, and we prayed, but nothing happened. And then we decided, okay, no, but let's try shock therapy. And that was quite an interesting experience, but it actually just made it worse as well.
Who's the keenest on that one?
Yeah. And then we really didn't know what to do. It's like we literally tried everything. And then we heard from a friend that we should go and visit a doctor that is in Knysna. And we went to that doctor, and he felt in between my ribs, and he sent me for a double MRI scan. And I went for the scan, and when you have an MRI scan, you suspect that it's a scan that picks up anything. You're not going to see anything that's not there. And yeah, the MRI scan didn't pick up anything. And then I was like, oh no, but what is, like, seriously something? Well, thank goodness it's not an organ or something, but really what is happening? And that doctor sent us to another doctor in Mossel Bay. And
A heart specialist.
yeah, a heart specialist. And within
Heart
5 minutes, after 2 years, this is a story that I rushed a little, but after 2 years, the doctor felt in between my ribs. In the first 5 minutes, he said, "Oh, there's the problem. You have a slid rib." And
Okay.
so basically what happens is my ligaments tore off completely, and the muscles tore off, and the nerves stretched, and that's what gave me such bad pain. And the ribs, 3 or 4 ribs, I think, moved out of place. So I had to get a surgery. But what was amazing is how I discovered guitar and music within that time period, because I started with guitar lessons when we were in Nelspruit. But when we decided to move to the US, I couldn't take my guitar with. And for my 13th birthday in the US, my parents bought me a $100 black Yamaha guitar, my first steel string acoustic guitar. And I brought it back, and I just started practicing guitar because I couldn't play tennis anymore. And what was amazing is the only time that I didn't have any pain was when I literally lay down on my back flat, or when I played guitar.
Weird.
And yeah, weird, but I think
True
it was
story.
God's divine design. But yeah, that's just when I didn't have any pain, and I just started practicing, and the discipline and the maturity that I learned on the court on the tennis, I could incorporate into my guitar, because when we left Nelspruit, I didn't have anyone to give me lessons anymore, and I only went for lessons for a couple of months.
Yep.
So I'm basically self-taught. So with the things that I learned in my tennis, I could incorporate into my guitar playing.
Well, number one, guitar was a good investment, mom and dad, I think. But yeah, isn't it interesting how you made that investment abroad before coming back, and how that's served a purpose in a new season? So quite often, that going through the one season, we get equipped with stuff that we might need for the next one. So interesting. And then carrying it over, obviously the discipline of training, and what you did in tennis, and don't give up mentality, and I think even the excitement, you could incorporate that into your day, but in a different form now. Probably less sweating, but in that sense. But I think Gabby, she says that she's self-taught. She plays guitar very well. She's one of those people I really envy. I just want to put her on the spot the whole time and say, well, just play this song, just play that song, because some of us were first in line and others were last in line when the talent for music was handed out. But no, she may play the guitar, and she also uses the guitar to good use, not just for her own benefit, but to help and lead others in worship, our fellowship, which is absolutely awesome. A real privilege to those of us who can attend. When Gabby's up at the front and got the guitar, the energy is going to be great. So I can vouch for that. Mental and emotional shift, has that happened Are you still on the way for that happening? Is the tennis dream is definitely it's no more at the moment? How's that transition going? Is it behind you now, or are you still in the process of it?
Oh no, it's far behind me now.
Okay.
Yeah, all thanks to God. But it's actually quite funny, because while I was not playing tennis anymore and starting to develop a passion for guitar, my passion for tennis slowly started to fade away. But at the end, at the start, it was really tough for me. I remember when my dad obviously coached, and my mom and Alexander plays tennis as well. So I wanted to stay at home alone, because I couldn't handle it to go to the tennis courts, because I don't think you really realize what you have until it's taken away from you. It's such a big privilege to be able to live without pain and being free, and to be able to do what you love. But I couldn't handle going to the courts, because I would see kids at my age running around and not giving their best, and I just couldn't handle that. And I just want to say it again, is you really don't know what you have until you lost it.
You were explaining that journey and the tennis sort of being taken away. And it got me thinking about the journey of, in Scripture, we read of Paul.
Yeah.
You were knocked off your horse. You perhaps have been called.
Yeah.
And a change of lifestyle, a change of, that's all I lived for. We know that Paul, Pharisee of Pharisees. And after that blinding light, that encounter, we all need to have an encounter somewhere, even though sometimes we don't think we need it. But what comes out on the other side is to the benefit of, as you said, to the Almighty's glory.
Yeah.
So I think that probably in itself is a testament of your character. You could easily have given up at that point. What for the parents listening out there who've got maybe children in a similar situation, who have gone through something similar, and they're still going through it, and they're worried about their child's mental health or the emotional state. What advice can you give them, or tell us what got you? I know we could say, I picked up the guitar. Great.
Yeah.
We know that's there. What got you through? What do you think it boils down to? Maybe dealing with the acceptance of, this is a change. Those parents who are worried about their own children going through something similar, where the dream effectively is hanging overboard and is about to get chomped by the sharks. How would you encourage them?
Well, for me, a big thing that helped for me was Jesus. That was a very, I think, 99%, and the other percent was the guitar. But 99%, I think, was God. And my true happiness and my why, suddenly I knew after all the years. When I discovered Jesus and really starting to have an intimate and personal relationship, walking hand to hand with Him, made all the difference for me. So yes, the guitar helped, and also what helped a lot is my dad. When we were also in Nelspruit, we believe a lot in giving back. We always had to give an hour a day to help other kids and coach them as well. As we always joke and say, you only know your craft if you can explain it to a 6-year-old. Yeah. So giving back while I was injured, and it was so tough for me to help, seeing kids taking stuff for granted and their health. But giving back, helping other kids, also helped a lot.
I think you're not just explaining it to 6-year-olds at the moment. You're explaining it to some middle-aged people as well, potentially. All right. Now, thanks, Gabby. That's very insightful, and I think very mature as well. Just to compliment you, it's not easy to explain that. And maybe I think what you're saying now, if you listen to this interview 10 years from now, I think it'll be quite profound for you to listen back to it. So, future Gabby, if you're listening, thanks for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Charles, can I
Yes.
come in there? Mm-hmm. For all parents, dopamine, the happy substance your brain produces. If it's only tennis and that's taken away, where you're going to produce that.
next hit,
Yeah. And I do think, Gabby, I totally agree with you 100%. It should be actually 100% Jesus, and then the rest is just an added bonus. But I know what you mean. But, myelin as well. Two things came to my mind. Myelin. Every time you do something, you produce myelin. So you start off as a beginner in the guitar. The more you do it, the more advanced you get. And that produces also dopamine, It's now, okay, now I've got some happiness. And, I think mentally it's more a challenge for people that go all into something and then they've got to replace it with something. And from our side, from our parenting standpoint, we could not be more grateful to the Lord that it was Him who stepped into that void and then as well produced, her love, passion, dedication for her guitar and her word. I made a note here, Gabby. It's like we're talking about guitar, and I know it's a living relationship, but for a 16-year-old, it's not normal to have her Bible be mapped out the way it is. It's not an easy subject for me to talk about because she makes me look bad. She makes me feel bad. But, that how encouraging and motivating it is for us as parents to know that your kid has found that reason. I think that is, it's just so powerful. That's some of the things that came to my mind. And then I just want to do one thing. I just want to go back 2 steps. But I know there were people more playing a big part in your life. It was Coach Natalia.
Oh,
we
yes.
don't have to go more about that, the cow on rollerblades scenarios. I know Coach Skalk, he played a big role.
Definitely.
Coach Mornay from Great.
Yeah.
I know Coach Lizelle played a big
Coach
role.
Edward as
and
well.
Coach Edward as well. And it's just a young kid, but I know that all these people, you had an impact on their lives as well, and they had an impact on your lives.
Yeah.
We always say it takes a village to raise a child, right? No one tells you where it is or how to get there, but we're fortunate as parents that also a lot of people plays and continues to play a big role in helping our kids grow up, and we've always had that mentality. If she's not doing something right and, we've got the same belief system, you've got the right to help her and guide her. And I just want to thank those people as well for their influence on a Gabby. But yeah, dopamine and myelin, you gotta make sure that you take care of. Something's got to be replaced.
Yeah.
So that's why balance in the system is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Let's say you do play multiple sports, and one falls away.
Yeah.
There's still more dopamine that can be produced. But if it's only tennis and now that's taken away, that was a big challenge. I mean, you sharing that story is in a nutshell. We were here, there, everywhere. And, to try and figure out what was wrong, we had people, and it was like, don't you think it's mental? Don't you think it's all in the head?
Yeah.
I'm like, if you knew Gabby's training, I promise you it's not in the head.
Yeah.
If there's something wrong, she's going to tell me in the aisle, Dad, ek wil nie meer. I don't want to do this anymore. But it was never that case.
Yeah.
And, that's a big point to bring over.
You mentioned void. That void has to be filled with something, or we feel the urge to, or because I've put all my energy into that specific thing, whatever it might be, goal, dream, and that gets taken away, well, then suddenly my purpose is gone. My reason for getting up in the morning, or I'll have to be content with being average or below average for the rest of my life. Filling that void, and I think that's where we as parents have to hold up the mirror to ourselves quite regularly, because if you're going through something similar and however you fill the void because something didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, or your dream has crashed, your children are watching. Your children are looking at you, and whether you say it out loud or they say it out loud or not, years to come, that's the example that they've had. So off the back of what I've just said, the way that parents fill the void, or parents need to make a decision as to how they change direction on something, is what you will copy. What have you seen? And Dad's not here at the moment. What have you seen in your parents' journey that you feel I've learned from that? I could take as an example to the viewers?
Well, their unity and how they've always had God as the center of their marriage, and I think that is very important. And I always, when I think of it, when I said that, I think of a picture is it's God, then it's the husband, then it's the wife, and then it's the children. And I think they are a very good example of that to Alexander and I. And even when I went through my injury, is the way that they were supportive and is how they knew and had the trust in me that I wouldn't just lie about an injury. And while others were like, what is wrong, is maybe it's a mental thing, is they knew really the true person that I am, and how no matter what is that they always supported me in anything that I did.
And supporting, I suppose, doesn't always take the form of yes. Sometimes it's supporting your child is also might be no's in there as well, or maybe reconsider that decision. But we know it's not easy. But I think that's where I can say you, Gabby, from what I've experienced, I can see that you've taken those lessons on board. And again, if there are parents watching, we were all children at one point in time, and we had our own parents, and we've learned from them. So if you're sitting there watching this, or you need to send it on to somebody, thinking about either promoting the cycle, that which has been good, or breaking the cycle if it wasn't good. That's really a stand up and be counted mentality that we have to take. And quite often that's hard based on our circumstances that we live in, the environments that we find ourselves in, the challenges we face. But having a central anchor really makes that job easier and worthwhile. So unity is a big key.
Yeah.
Is a big key.
And then also the sacrifices that they made for us. Yeah, is always a thing that I will never forget and cherish.
Definitely.
Charles, I think what you're trying also to bring over with parenting, could be a kid, could be a parent, but you've got two voices. You've got your public voice and you've got your private voice. And so many times, it's like your character, reputation. Your character is who you are. Reputation is only what other people perceive you to be. Only you truly know who you really, really are. And, I think it's the biggest thing that came out of this is how much Gabby's character was shaped in this. Also tested at times, but how she, it's not about rising to the occasion. You don't wish your kid to get hurt and change her goals, her dreams. But if that's what it takes, let's do it, but let's move forward. Let's not look back. Let's move forward. So, yeah, well done.
So, Gabby, I'm going to work towards wrapping it up. What is Gabby's goals moving forward? What is Gabby aiming for? Does she want to achieve?
Just being 1% better each day. Being a better person than I was yesterday.
If you achieve that 1% tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, you're on that track, you do achieve it, and you have it. You have made that incremental improvement. What's it going to give you or allow you to do that you couldn't do before, do you think?
What I try to do is I want to live my life as an example, and I want to try and live so close to the Lord, is when people interact with me, is they think of God and not Gabby. And I want to try and change people's life and help them, but that is where the music with the worship and everything has become so big of a part in my life. So.
And when you've made change in people's lives,
yes,
what's that going to give you that you didn't have before, that you couldn't do before?
I think just more courage to go and change more people's lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what the next question is going to be? When you've got that courage that you didn't have before, what's that going to allow you to do? What do you think?
I think to be brave, to be bold, not to, because, when it comes down to courage, the world could also be there to try and steal that courage, the real world out there. So it's to be bold. It's to keep the Lord closer and closer and closer. That's what I would see as courage.
Yeah.
I've got a take on it, if you'll allow me to. Something that I feel is speaking to me. So what I did, and very unfairly did there to Gabby, was something, if somebody has some goals or they want to achieve something or they feel something's important to them, that's a great little technique, parents out there, to try and establish what's really the deeper goal here, what's really the deeper cause to something, what's the deeper value that person is. So I was trying to find that out from Gabby. So you can repeat that question and keep going until the person really hits a wall. Then you've probably crystallized it down to actually what they really want. So where they start in the conversation and where you end up in that sort of line of questioning quite often gives you a very different picture and helps you realize that this was maybe just what I thought I wanted, but actually this is the real thing underneath all of it that I really truly want. So something, take it or leave it, if you wanted to use that at home. You mentioned courage towards the end there, and the golden thread running through the whole interview so far has been your energy. But I think you, at your age already, Gabby, and this is why I said that girl's got her head screwed on properly onto her shoulders, young shoulders. You have got the courage. You don't mind being different. Yeah. And I think that's always been there naturally, whether it's been mom and dad who've instilled it to you at a young age or your own experiences. But I think now you're probably coming to a point where through your faith journey, and we would know around this table as well that the faith journey that we walk isn't the norm. It isn't the normal faith walk. It costs something. The lifestyle is slightly different in many ways. That courage that you just spoke about is actually being okay with being different.
Yeah.
And Scripture gives you confirmation of that and says that the Lord wants His people, those that belong to Him, to be peculiar, to be a peculiar people. So that courage is to go out and actually go and show that weirdness, or if you want to put it that way.
A set apartness.
A set apartness.
Yeah.
That's well said.
And that's the thing that I attach the most to you when I interact with you and indeed with your family as well, is the cherishing and the valuing of set apartness. You've got everything you need to go and you use that in the wider world out there. And I look forward to seeing what fruit that will carry as well as you grow and develop. So, yeah, we love you lots, and thanks very much for your time. I know this is slightly strange with this side of the camera, and, but you're going to have so much fun watching yourself on camera because Dad and I already know how fun that is.
Let's not go there. Hey, Charles, can I throw a spanner in the works? I didn't prepare Gabby for this, but I know it's not going to be difficult for her. But for the listeners, you don't have to do it in Spanish or Afrikaans. Why don't you just do it in English, the habit poem?
Okay. Who am I? I'm your constant companion. I'm your greatest helper and I'm your greatest burden. I'm completely at your command. Half of the things you do, turn them over to me and I will do them quickly and correctly. I'm easily managed. You must be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done and after a few lessons I will do them automatically. I'm the servant of successful people and I'm the servant of unsuccessful people. Those who are great, I've made great. And those who are failures, I've made failures. I'm not a machine. I work with the precision of a machine, but I need the intelligence of a person. Be easy with me and I will destroy you. Be tough on me and I'll make sure you have no regrets. Who am I? I'm your habit.
Yeah, that's just always brings, little shivers down the spine. And we always teased in our programs, wherever we go, are you ready to tell a story, sing a song, or tell a joke? And I mean, I used to have to pull back Gabby. Say, no, give someone else a chance on the singing. No, give someone else a chance on the joke. No, Gabby, you can't tell the story. You can't do everything. So, but habits, habits to instill good habits in our kids' lives. Doesn't matter what it is, will last a lifetime. And they come sometimes with a little bit of discipline. They come with little bit of hard work. But when you look back, you will be glad that you instilled the good habits that hopefully can last them, a lifetime.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Thanks, Gabby.
Gabby,
Thanks.
Thanks, Charles.